Welcome to Future Foodcast. I'm Pam Miller, your host. This week's guest is a really fun conversation I'm going to have with Maria Cho. She is the CEO for Triplebar, and I want to welcome her to the show.
Thank you, Pam. I'm really glad to be here. Looking forward to our chat.
Hi, Maria. I'm looking forward to our chat too. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about Triplebar and what you do?
Yeah, super excited about what we're doing here at Triplebar. So I'll start by saying that Triplebar, people always ask, what is the name of the company and where'd that come from? So the mathematical symbol for identical is actually three bars. So it's kind of an equal sign with an extra bar, and that's Triplebar. And so we're working on making proteins that are found in nature, but making them using biotechnology. And so that's kind of the foundation of Triplebar. And we leverage, and we'll talk a bit more about this, what we call a hyper screening or hyperspeed screening platform to actually accelerate evolution. It's an incredibly powerful algorithm so that we can make proteins and expand access to high quality nutrition proteins throughout the world. So.
Yeah, an exciting topic I know our audience is looking forward to hearing about. But how did you even get associated with Triplebar, Maria? May I
Yeah,
ask?
yeah, of course, of course. The founder of our company is Dr. Jeremy Agresti, and Jeremy has spent, several decades working on tools in biology and working on applications of those tools in biology. He had gotten his PhD at the University of Cambridge, working on a really cool technology that incredibly accelerated therapeutic development, in fact, for healthcare. And then he took that technology, went to a physics lab in Harvard, and created this technology that we'll talk a bit about today. And throughout his career, has applied the technology to kind of very narrow windowed approaches, and realized that the technology was really being underutilized for a more broad application, and that was really the foundation of Triplebar. And so, in my career, I had been really focusing on how can we make products through biology and really solve problems in human health and nutrition. And I realized when I met Jeremy, I was like, this technology can unlock something so incredible to create innovation in a space that we need to rapidly accelerate product development through biotech. And so that's really kind of the foundation and where Jeremy and I met. And it's been a fun pair ever since.
Yeah,
So.
so exciting. And here at Future Foodcast, we love to highlight technology and innovation in the food space. I mean, that's what we're all about. And there's so much going on right now, especially with proteins. Trends wise, there are lots of options being investigated right now for developing more proteins because we have a growing population and we're going to have challenges in that area. So let's jump into some of the technology and the innovation that you found. If you could share a little bit about the process and how that works.
Yeah, so really simply, so the unit of measure in biology is a test tube. So, you put things that you want to test in that test tube, and then you put different test reagents into that test tube, and then you read whatever the test said. Usually that's done at a bench top. So it's a scientist that's holding a tube, and they're moving liquids around, and they're doing various tests. But the problem, I guess, with doing that is you can only test a few things. And what we really need to be doing if we want to look at an entire genome of an organism is be able to test tens of millions to hundreds of millions of different things as rapidly as possible. And so what we did at Triplebar is we essentially took that unit of measure, that test tube, and we miniaturized it into basically a picoliter droplet. So kind of an aqueous solution and an oil emulsion. And then what we can do is we can take single cells or single types of proteins, and we can put those in that little droplet. And then we can take assay reagents that we want to use to test that droplet, also, or test that particular cell or that protein that we're looking at evaluating. And we put all of that together in this kind of fully encapsulated drop.
Yeah.
Then we can take tens of millions to hundreds of millions of those drops that all have different types of cells that are producing a protein in it, and then put them on a chip. that fits in the palm of your hand. So what we call, and we love this phrase, is the microprocessor for biology. So just like in computers, where they used to have rooms full of like computers and now we have carry computers around in the palm of our hand and our cell phone every day. We've done that same thing. We've taken rooms and airplane hangars full of these test tubes and put it basically in the palm of your hand. And then we run all those tests in a single day. So think of that. Orders of magnitude numbers of organisms looking at the entire genome in a single day. So what we can do is then look at biology and allow biology to solve its own problems. This is what it has been doing, since the beginning of time. And, we're just being able to harness that in a very small way, in a very fast way, and make real progress so that we can make these proteins using biotechnology.
Right, Maria, this is revolutionary. Really, instead of thinking about the lab technician in the lab coat, we all have that vision, right, of the test
Yeah,
tube and you're putting in the different ingredients that you want to combine there. And it is a very linear process,
that's
right?
right.
Where you're doing this one, okay, that didn't give the result we wanted. We're going to change one of but what you're talking about is essentially doing that at hyperspeed
Mhm.
and increasing the magnitude of your abilities by multiples. And
Multiple. Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
that is an amazing thought. I mean, to just kind of conceptualize for our audience to try to think about how that might affect your ability to run through, because the idea is to fail fast so you can get to what works, right?
Yeah, and the way we think about that too, if you have, so let's think of like a huge pile of sand in the Saharan desert, right?
Yeah.
We're able to, because we could take every single grain of sand in that pile, and one of those little grains of sand actually has something that's good or better. And so because we can sift through that entire pile of sand and think, I mean, those dunes are pretty big, right? We can find one little grain of sand this is that organism that's producing that protein that we need at cost points that we want to achieve so we can make this more available. You can't do that with test tubes and a scientist sitting there. Scientists are obviously moving those chips around, but just think of, the scale of the amount of tests that you would need to do in order to find that grain of sand. We're able to do that just on a chip.
Amazing. Well, can you move us from that vision of in the lab and then miniaturizing that? And I want to say the technology is not even in the palm of our hand anymore. It's on our watch
That's
and
right.
even smaller things. So we're moving at a breakneck pace even in that. So I can imagine what's happening with the technology you're working on. But can you help our audience visualize that? Do you have some real examples that you might be able to share with us so we can understand it a little more?
Yeah, so the way I like to talk about this is everyone's very familiar with we'll talk about fermentation. So everyone's familiar with the brewing process, like how beer is made or how, different kind of beverages are made. And think kombucha, I love kombucha. And so there's a process called fermentation. And so what happens in fermentation is there's a microorganism. It's some kind of in this case it's a yeast. And that particular organism is actually making a thing or doing a thing, and it's just kind of jamming away and making that end product that we all really like. So what scientists did was they took, various types of these organisms. We'll just stick on the yeast as an example, and we've put basically a gene in that yeast that allows it to make a protein that we would typically isolate from nature. So if you think about different types of proteins that we use in infant formula or adult supplements or any other type of nutritional augmentation that we have in our dietary routine, usually those things are isolated from cow's milk or other types of sources. But what we do instead is we take that yeast, we make that protein through that yeast, and then we can do that basically in an enclosed container. We call it a fermenter, fermentation fermenter, and we make lots of that protein, and it is identical to that same protein that's coming out of the cow, but instead of using the cow, we're using this organism to make that protein. So these would be, high quality nutrition ingredients, like I said, that are used, in things like we know, like cheese, or like I said, supplements, or other types of things that we consume every single day. So
Right.
so
Wow.
that's what we're doing with that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, what well, because partnering is key here too, where you need to have different situations. I know you mentioned formula, both infant formula, maybe also adult
Nutrition.
nutrition,
Mhm.
and there are some others, but
Yeah, yeah. So the way we think about getting these products to market very much
yeah.
as an ecosystem. And so Triple Bar focuses on the very specific part of the value chain where we provide this innovation, which essentially is this organism producing a protein, a cell line that's used in cultivated meat, whatever that very specific kind of beginning, I guess you can call it an initial ingredient, right, to make that final product. And then
Yeah.
what we do is we partner with folks across that kind of manufacturing value chain. So one of the partnerships we love to talk about is with Friesling Campina Ingredients. They are the third largest dairy ingredient producer in the world. They also have some of their own end products where they make infant formula. And so they basically are a dairy cooperative. And so they have 150-year-old incumbent that has been using dairy and kind of extracts from dairy to make these highly nutritious products for humanity. They realize that there isn't enough milk to go around to make all the things that we need to do. And so they want to augment, the production of these very valuable proteins using fermentation. And so that's how that partnership works with Triple Bar. So we make the strains that produce proteins. They take those proteins, they put them in those big tanks that we talked about, and then they produce lots of this protein really as a complementary protein to products that are already out on the market. There just isn't enough access to it, and they're very expensive because you're isolating it from a cow's milk. That's how we work with our various partners. So we just focus on the bit we're good at. Our partners focus on the bit that they're good at,
Right.
and then we bring these products to market.
Well, essentially, you're taking what is currently a limited resource
Yes,
and expanding that to be less limited. I mean, obviously, still somewhat limited, but multiples more
yes,
quantity is available so that they can expand their production
yes, yeah.
and we can feed more people,
That's
essentially.
That's exactly right. I mean, the population is growing, Pam. I mean, the thing that keeps me up at night is how are we going to feed the world by 2050? And it's something that Turtle Bar and our partners are just incredibly focused on that mission at hand, and just allowing there to be access to those proteins in a way on a time scale that we need. I mean, I think that is one of the key things. We have to bring innovation into the food chain and the food supplies such that we can hit these time points and feed 10 billion people by 2050.
Well, I mean, being able to develop these bioreactive proteins, or is that the
Bioactive.
bioactive proteins?
Yes.
I'm going to get my biology terminology down by the time the
You're
interview's
doing
over.
great.
The bioactive proteins and being able to figure out how to help them multiply kind of
Yeah.
at this hyperspeed. Because like you said, yeah, we can move along, but technology is allowing us to speed up that process. So we're going to get reaching the goals we want to reach sooner rather than later, which is what we need to
Yeah.
do.
That's right. And these proteins are they offer so many health benefits from, immunity, gut maturation, iron absorption. Being a woman, I'm always like, how can I get more iron in my diet? And being able to have these proteins, more accessible, not just in like very high end products that are, are expensive, but actually having them accessed, throughout the world, even in regions that currently really are malnourished or areas where nutrition is really kind of the what is needed to save lives, right? And so I'm so excited to have like that impact, not only from a broad perspective on it being more available, but also being able to impact the world and any sort of future famine we might run into. I mean, these are big goals and big missions we're trying to accomplish.
They are absolutely, but food insecurity is a real challenge
Yes.
across the world in different places. And
Yes.
so you're essentially offering some solutions to that problem, at least a piece of the solution that
Yes.
manufacturers can partner with you to help provide more products in those areas. I'm
That's right.
curious about the nutritional benefits. Are these additive nutritional benefits, or are these nutritional benefits that exist in the current proteins now that you're just able to expand because of the quantities you're able to? produce?
Yeah, there are current known nutritional benefits
Okay.
from those proteins that are isolated from nature. There's been, clinical trials that have been done on that, and this is why these ingredients are incorporated into, not only infant formula, adult supplements, medical nutrition, things where, these proteins are known to actually have a benefit. And so that's why, and I'll mention too, we talk about partnerships. We did announce we're working with Friesland Campina Ingredients on lactoferrin. So lactoferrin is an ingredient that is produced, or made through cow's milk typically, and it's very expensive. It's been very low quantities in cow's milk, but its nutritional benefit is really incredible. And so being able to make this protein
Uh-huh.
at a cost point where you can not only put it in the premium infant formulas and adult supplements, but kind of broadly, it really augments, the access to these nutrition proteins. And then whole milk can be used for all of the other wonderful benefits that it offers. So
Exactly. And accessibility is a
yeah,
big key benefit.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, being able to produce these proteins kind of even like within country. I mean, which going back to the food security issue we talk about, we're connected in to the APAC region deeply. We have a partnership with Umami Bioworks in the cultivated meat space in Singapore, and being in that region and really understanding like Singapore's goal of food security, by making 30% of their proteins or food in Singapore by 2030. Now, I think that's a quite a lofty goal, but I love the energy that the government has put into that. And so just think about bioreactors in country, like producing protein, and we don't have to worry about, all of this kind of, global logistics supply chain, concerns that we have. People can actually be making the protein that is needed, in their own country or in their own region. And I think like that's the kind of innovation that really is game changing.
yeah, especially important for a country like Singapore, who imports the vast majority of their food when there is something, well, like the recent global pandemic, when we had issues with supply chain, food, being able to move products, that would really affect a country like Singapore and others who have the same situation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, Maria, what else would you like to bring forward about Triple Bar, your mission, the impacts that you're looking for? We've covered a lot of really great points so far. Is there anything else you'd like to add for our audience?
Yeah, I think there's a few things I always love to share when we think about how do we do this together. What's been really exciting for me to see is the evolution of this ecosystem towards working together to achieve these goals. I think, if folks that are working on manufacturing or process development or different ways of packaging and material handling and how can we pull all of that together in again on a time scale that really really matters. And so working together within those ecosystem partnership is not just about kind of that end product. It's also about all the different things that needs to come together, to make this a reality. And so I think that's the mission. I want to make sure that Triple Bar is leading from the front end of the pack and saying this is how we approach this, and how we're looking to kind of bring all that innovation together. I say the easy way to describe it is, think about the semiconductor industry, right? The chips that are used in computers. It's a what we call a horizontally integrated community. So there's various types of companies that focus on the bit they do best, and then the end product is that chip, right? That's used
Yeah.
in a computer. I think the food industry has gone. We started off at least in the innovation side very vertically integrated. So there was Impossible Foods is a great example. They've been quite successful, but their innovation was a protein that makes the burger look red. Like that was the beginning. And so they took that and then worked all the way through to get burgers on the grocery store shelf. And I think there's an easier, less economically impactful way of doing this if we all can focus on the bits that we do well instead of spending, 200, 300 $1 billion to get that burger on the shelf. Let's all do the bits we do best. And then those benefits then are brought to the consumer because they have access to these products at cost points that they can actually make a part of their daily living. I mean, I think that's so important as we think about how the community can come together. So our mission is to feed and heal people and planet here at Triple Bar. And again, we impact what we think is one of the most important parts of the value chain to make those proteins at cost points that make it more accessible. Say like our platform can be used in lots of different applications. We're currently focused on, like I mentioned, bioactive and functional proteins in food. We didn't talk about it, but we're also working in the cultivated meat space. And so I think that area has been really exciting. There's a ton of promise for, where that can, offer access to high quality nutrition, protein nutrition without the animal. And I think, and all the impact in the environment that animal can cause. Uh,
Mhm.
how can we get those proteins to market? It's a more nascent industry, but I know companies like Upside and even Vow, who launched their product in quail in Singapore, they're really kind of paving the way for access to these high quality proteins, and Triple Bar evolves the cell lines so they can scale. And I think
Yeah.
it's a great pairing, like within that, like how we impact that space as well, where companies like Upside Vow are bringing those products to market. So, yeah, but I think there's other areas, other types of proteins. We're excited, maybe to be working on coffee or other types of plant-derived ingredients as well. There's all different aspects where the Triple Par platform can bring benefit to the world, and where we want to be a part of that. But it's
Yeah.
ecosystem, getting those products to market, getting consumers, together, or getting getting the ecosystem together to make products for those consumers that need them, right? So
Excellent point. I mean, what I hear you saying is you're fostering collaboration and
yeah,
promoting collaboration in that value chain
yes,
for products rather than competition, rather than one
right,
company having to do all of it and figure it all out along the way. Let's
right,
do what we do best and collaborate together so that we can get there faster and we
yes,
can all focus on what we're best at.
that's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
like, yeah, it's anyway, it's good.
no, I think you're excited about this and could, do you have something else you would like to add?
No, I mean, I could talk all day about this. Obviously, I wake up every morning. How do we solve hard problems? We're solving hard problems in this space, and I'm just so excited to think that in, 10 years, more than 90% of the food that I'll be able to consume, Triple Bar will have impacted.
Well, that's exciting and also another lofty goal. So I love your vision and your passion for it. And thank you for sharing with us how you are impacting the industry and can see other avenues to continue to do that as you increase your partnerships and visibility into this kind of technology and innovation. Thank you so much for being with us, Maria.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Pam, and love the mission you guys have as well. Let's spread the word.
Yeah. And here at Future Foodcast, we love to engage with our audience. So please let us know if you enjoyed this interview. Please comment. We do answer all of them, and subscribe to us so you don't miss the next show. Until next time, I'm Pam Linemiller.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.